So this is going to be my setup for face milling. Face milling is the process of milling the face of an object. So I'm going to use the same end mill as I used for the side milling operation. Now I have my workpiece standing up inside the vise. So what I'm going to do is machine this top surface here. The process is going to be very, very similar to the side milling operation. What I'm going to do is I'm simply going to lower my tool until it touches the surface, set my reference point, move off the surface, lower the depth of cut, and then walk across to the other side. So again, I'm going to lower the head of the machine about as low as it'll go before my guard hits the top of the vise, so I get a nice rigid setup. And then I'm going to position my workpiece so that it's below my tool. And I'm going to lower the quill feed so I'm not touching the surface of the material, I'm slightly above. And then I'm going to lock the quill feed in position. Now what I'm going to do is turn on the machine. Once I've touched the surface, I'm going to set my reference point. I'm going to move the table in the X direction off my workpiece. Now I'm going to set my controlled depth of cut. And I'm going to come back across my workpiece this way. So I've finished machining the top of the surface. As you can see, it's nice and smooth and should be parallel to the bottom, the surface that's on the bottom of the vise down here. Important thing to note when machining is the feed rate across, so how fast I'm moving across the surface, and the depth of cut, so how much I'm taking off in one pass, is extremely crucial to the results. So if you take too much material off per revolution of the cutter, one, there's a high chance that you damage the tool, and two, your surface finish along the top face of your workpiece is going to be very terrible. So this similarly goes the same thing for side milling. So as you play around with machining, there are set values, but it comes more with experience from machining for how fast you should move across the surface and how much material to take off at a time. And the constant feed rate, so as you're moving across, if you're moving at a constant speed versus if you're constantly accelerate and decelerate and changing speed as you go across, you'll see that show up on the surface finish. Now, similarly to the side milling operation, I could do this face milling operation many, many times and continue removing material until I've reached my final dimension on my workpiece. So this workpiece could have initially started up to here, and I've continued doing passes, so moving back and forth, removing material, until I've reached this final dimension here. So that finalizes 3 of the main and simple operations on the mill. This has been the face milling operation. There are countless of other operations possible on the mill, but these are simply the most basic ones and the introductory ones to how to use a mill properly.